top of the morning, afternoon, evening. I guess it depends on where you are. Um, it's been a while. If you're new here, my name is Horace Botts, and we are truly just getting started. Um, we're gonna have a bit of fun today. So, a couple of weeks ago, I I went to a friend's parental's funeral. It was a very sad moment. My condolences again, brother. You know I am here for you, and whatever you need, whenever you need, I got it. And it was a group of us from childhood. A lot of my friends, they had went on and they have children, and we were talking about the resources that are available for us, for our people. And I was praising the technology of ChatGPT. And I was like, man, you can do anything with it. And I always give this analogy. I'm like, ChatGPT is to is essentially to everyone as is the calculator is to mathematicians. Just let that sit. It empowers these mathematicians, talking about the calculator, to quickly address the fundamentals and move on to deeper, more complex analysis. Right? You don't have to sit there and do everything by hand. And I say that ChatGPT has this same potential. The question is, will you use it? So they were like, well, what can you do with it? And I was like, well, I did this YouTube video on talking to my future self, and I explained that I took my resume and then I had ChatGPT extrapolate me out into the future. And I was like, check out that video. It's like the plug, right? It was like, yeah, but practically, what can you do with it? And I was like, I mean, it's an echo chamber. If you want to brainstorm about something that you want to create or build or design, why not go into a room, a digital room, and start to have a conversation about it, kind of fleshing out the schematics per se. And he was like, well, how can I practically use it? I was like, well, and then somehow we got on the topic of homeschooling. And I was like, well, you probably can use it to homeschool. And it was like, well, how? And I was like, well, if I wanted to homeschool a child, mind you, I don't have any children. So I'm like, oh, well, I probably would ask ChatGPT what is the necessary curriculum that this child should know at the specific age. And then I would create lesson plans and help allow ChatGPT to kind of help me map out my plan of attack, and then I'll execute. And he was like, oh, okay, do that. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. And he was like, well, you should. And I was like, I don't want to though. And he was like, this is something for people that are not as tech savvy. And I hate that. Tech savvy. What is tech savvy? I still owe you all that video about my belief on intelligence, and it's not what people want to say it is. But that's for another day. Maybe I'll get to that after this video. But the truth is, I should do it, and I am. A video on how to homeschool your children. And I'm gonna say we're gonna go with randomly. I'm choosing third grade, right? I have no idea. It's been a long time since I was in third grade. I don't know what the curriculum is, but we're gonna find out. So, first things first, I need to frame ChatGPT to put itself in a mind state that is going to be a teacher teaching third grade year olds, and to make sure that I can truly flesh out what needs to happen. So, I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. I'm gonna prepare the system. How am I gonna do that? Well, let's find out. I'm gonna say something like, first I'm gonna use GPT-4, of course. First thing I said, you are an expert in teaching children everything they need to know in third grade. You are currently located in Virginia, because, it's only irrelevant to specific states in the curriculum that's necessary. And you are about to prepare for the upcoming year of education. Do you understand? I'm trying to make sure the system understands what I need it to be. Then this is the response I got from the system. Yes, I understand. As an AI language model and an expert in teaching third grade, I am prepared to help you plan for the upcoming academic year in Virginia. Please feel free to ask me any questions or request assistance with lesson planning, curriculum development, and any other educational topics relevant to the third grade. So I know nothing, okay? Because I have no kids. So I'm going to start off with, could be some stupid questions, so bear with me. So the first question, because I know nothing, I had to ask, what is the required curriculum for third grade in Virginia? Right? I want to make sure we're hitting the mark. And it's listing it. It's getting to the nooks and the crannies, the crest of it. Let's give it a second because it's going through everything. Good googly moogly. These third graders learn a lot. All right. So first and foremost, let's recall what ChatGPT is and where its knowledge stops. Knowledge stops at September 2021. Obviously, we're in 2023. So if there's a variance in the curriculum, it's going to be on you to do your due diligence to go off to the internet, Google it, and then put the curriculum in ChatGPT so it can update its knowledge. That's how you get beyond the cutoff period. But the information that it gave me, which is very relevant, is very simple. It gave me what's the required curriculum for third grade. First, English, reading comprehension, vocabulary development, fiction and nonfiction texts, writing, sentence formation, paragraph writing, capitalization, punctuation and spelling, oral communication, active listening, speaking clearly and expressing ideas. All right, mathematics, number and number sense, place value, rounding, comparing and ordering numbers, computation and estimation, addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, measurement, time, temperature, length, area, volume, weight and mass, geometry, plane figures, lines, angles, probability and statistics, data collection, organization, interpretation, patterns, functions in algebra, patterning and problem solving, and then it goes on to science, scientific investigation, reasoning and logic, scientific method and experimentation, force, motion, and energy, simple machines and energy transformations, matter, properties of matter, states of matter, and changes in matter, life processes, plant and animal life cycles, interdependence and adaptations, earth patterns, cycles and change, water cycle, rock cycle, weather and conservation, history and social science, ancient civilizations, early civilizations of Greece, Rome, Mali and Egypt, geography, continents, oceans, physical features and map features, civics, meaning local, state, and national government, democratic principles and citizenship, and economics, resource production, consumption, and specialization. That's a lot for third grade. I do not remember all of this being covered in third grade, but then again, it was a long time ago, which makes me think some people may not have passed third grade because scientific investigation, reasoning, and logic. Oh, buddy! All I'm saying is I've seen some illogical actions from some very much over the age of third grade girls. I'm going to just leave that right there. All right. So now I guess this is the part where they're like, how do you use this? This is an outline. So systematically, I know I need lesson plans. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, in my head, logically, the next question. So give me a second to figure it out. So I needed to understand the time boxing, right? How much time should you spend on each of these sections to ensure that your child meets and exceeds the needs of the third grade curriculum? And that's the question. So the question I ask is, and I think about it in terms of optimal, right? It's like, what is the optimal time duration to cover each of the above sections in the course of a third grade school year? And ChatGPT answered it in a very interesting way. It's like it always hedges its bets. Nothing's ever fixed in stone because life is a summation of chaotic aggregations, right? The optimal time duration of covering each subject in a third grade school year can vary depending on factors such as the school schedule, the needs of the students, and the specific curriculum requirements. However, a general guideline to allocate time for each subject over the course of a typical 180-day school year can be as follows: English, reading, writing, or communication skills are fundamental, blah, blah, blah. Allocation 90 minutes per day, which will be about 270 hours total over the course of the school year. Mathematics, talks about the importance of it, getting to the crux of the time box, about 60 minutes per day, which is around 180 hours. Science, allocate about 2 to 3 hours per week, which is 72 to 180 hours over the course of the school year. History and social science, about 2 to 3 hours per week, 72 to 100 hours over the course of the school year. All right, so English is 90 minutes a day. 90 minutes a day. Math, 60 minutes a day. How do they go just push science to the It was like science is the same as history and social science. 2 to 3 hours a week. Bro, show science some respect, okay? Jeez. You'd be floating off if it wasn't for gravity. The audacity of ChatGPT. And it's probably just the audacity of people to demote science as one of those unuseful knowledge bases until they find themselves requiring science in their daily life. So let's tinker, all right? I'm not gonna dive into each subject area, but I'm gonna say that I need to develop a lesson plan for English for the first month. All right, we're gonna do 1 month's worth of English lessons. That's 90 minutes a day. Let me take a gander. I'm gonna prompt ChatGPT. All right. I don't know how good this is going to be. I am absolutely stepping outside of my comfort zone. I am uncertain as to how this is going to shake out. But this is what I said. I said, all right, we need 90 minutes a day. I want to do it for the first month. I'm assuming it's 4 business weeks. We're going to say it's 20 lessons. I need 20 English lessons. So this is what I have ChatGPT on. I said, for the time being, I want to focus on English. Create a roadmap of English lessons that will last for a duration of 90 minutes. Create an outline of 20 English lessons to start this third grade school year off with. And it is getting to the getting. And I'm here for it. All right. You know what? I will create a PDF of this ChatGPT conversation and I will place it in the link below. And you can go forth and download the PDF of this output. And maybe if you're a parent that is homeschooling your child who happens to be in the third grade and you want to take a look at some of the lessons that, some of the lessons that are here, you can do that. So ChatGPT just stopped at lesson 16. I'm going to type in continue and it will continue the lesson. So that's a tip. If ChatGPT stops in the middle of doing something and providing it for you and just says, all right, I've given you enough, you can make it continue and keep on pushing forward. Oh boy. It gave us 20 lessons. That's for your whole first month. Let's see. It says, here's an outline of 20 English lessons for the beginning of the third grade school year designed to last 90 minutes each. The lessons are divided into 3 main components: reading comprehension, 30 minutes, grammar and writing, 30 minutes, and speaking and listening, 30 minutes. Lesson 1, Reading Comprehension, Introduction to Fiction. Read and discuss a short story. Grammar and writing, review of a complete sentence, subject and predicate. Speaking and listening classroom introductions, and sharing favorite books. All right. So I'm not going to go through each lesson. I'm going to see how deep I can get into having ChatGPT help me homeschool a third grade year old. So I'm looking at lesson 1. I'm like, all right, introduction to fiction, read and discuss a short story. I'm going to dive into lesson 1. All right. Now let's take a look. This is what I'm trying to do. I said, let's focus on lesson 1. As a third grade teaching expert, I'm talking to ChatGPT, please describe in great detail how I would execute the first 30 minutes that is focused on reading comprehension. Provide a detailed plan of execution for, and then I put in quotations, reading comprehension, introduction to fiction, read and discuss a short story, right? I'm making sure that it understands. I'm calling back what it gave me, and I needed to flesh it out further. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. And it's looking sensational. I'm super hype about this because the application is limitless. It's only as short-minded or as short-sighted as you choose for it to be. Like, I see this helping so many people understand more, right? Because I think that's really the intent of AI. It's like, help me understand to an even deeper level. And it can break it down in ways that you may not be able to, on your own self-education path, design and understand. Because once you're consuming information, you may be left in a state of, what? Well, where do I go next to find more about this topic? So let's see what it gave me for lesson 1. Lesson 1, first 30 minutes of reading comprehension. Objective, introduce students to fiction and engage them in short story, building reading comprehension skills through discussion. The materials, a short story suitable for third grade, print or digital copies, whiteboard or chart paper, and markers. Detailed plan of execution. Number 1, introduction to fiction, 5 minutes. Begin by explaining the concept of fiction to the students. You can define fiction as stories that are created from the author's imagination and are not based on true events or facts. Write fiction on the whiteboard or chart paper and ask students to share examples of fiction books they've read or heard of. Write these examples on the board under fiction. Previewing the short story, that's number 2. It's going to take 5 minutes. Introduce the short story you selected for this lesson. Display the title and cover, if available, on a document camera or simply show the book around the class. Discuss the title and cover. Ask students what they think the story might be about based on these elements, encouraging the students to make predictions. Okay, that's 5 minutes. Now, number 3, read aloud. This will take 10 minutes. Read the short story aloud to the class. If you prefer, you can also ask for volunteers to read the sections of the story. Encourage students to visualize the characters, setting and events in the story as you read. Pause at strategic points to check for understanding, clarify vocabulary, or ask questions. And then the last 10 minutes is comprehension discussion. After finishing the story, engage students in a discussion about what they've just read. Ask open-ended questions that encourage students to think about the story and share their thoughts. Some questions you might include: what was the main problem in the story? How was it resolved? How did the main characters change or grow throughout the story? What was your favorite part of the story and why? How did the setting of the story influence the events that took place? What was your favorite part of the story and why? I already said that. Did the story end the way you expected it? Why or why not? As students share their thoughts, write key ideas and observations on the whiteboard or chart paper to visually reinforce comprehension. This detailed plan of execution for the first 30 minutes of Lesson 1 focuses on introducing fiction and engaging students in reading comprehension through a short story read aloud and discussion. By actively involving students in the process, you will help build strong foundation for understanding and appreciating fiction. So that's the first 30 minutes. All right, let's see what we can put for the second part. So the second 30 minutes is about grammar and writing. Review complete sentences, subject, and predicate. So, because I am lazy, I will copy and paste my previous prompt. And then I would change it so that it's focused on grammar and writing. 30 minutes. The second 30 minutes that is focused on grammar and writing. Provide a detailed plan of execution for, I will copy that, and I will paste it. Paste, and voila. Now we're going to get part 2. I swear, it's because, I didn't know how well this would work out. I was uncertain. I was like, well, ChatGPT can do anything. It's like one of those, yeah, you can do it. You just got to get in there and do the prompt. And all my friends probably was like, yeah, but do it. And now we're in here, we're doing it, you're seeing it, it's on the screen, you're watching it do its little razzle dazzle. I hope that you take it and run with it, that you design every lesson and that you use it to its maximum potential and that you create little geniuses to correct all of the knowledge and accuracies that are floating around in the ether today. That's a very, very nice way of saying what I needed to say. I'm working on that. I'm making myself better. All right. Grammar and writing. So it's going to go the same standard format. Objective, review the concept of complete sentences, focusing on the components of subject and predicate, and engage students in practicing identifying complete sentences. The materials that you will need: whiteboard or chart paper, markers, index card, or small slips of paper with pre-written subjects and predicates, writing paper and pencils for students. Detailed plan of execution. The first 5 minutes. Introduction to complete sentences. Start by reminding students of the importance of writing complete sentences in their work. Explain that a complete sentence is a group of words that express a complete thought and it must have 2 main components, a subject and a predicate. Write complete sentences on the whiteboard or chart paper along with the subject and predicate. That's the first 5 minutes. Second 5 minutes, subject and predicates. Define subject as a person, place, or thing or idea that the sentence is about. Give examples of the subjects and write them on the whiteboard under subject. Then you define predicate as part of a sentence that tells us something about the subject, such as what the subject is doing or what is happening to it. Give examples of predicates and write them on the whiteboard under predicate. For the next 10 minutes, creating complete sentences. Prepare index cards or small slips of paper with pre-written subjects and predicates in advance. Make sure you have enough for each student and have 1 subject and 1 predicate. Hand out 1 subject and 1 predicate card to each student. Ask students to create a complete sentence using the subject and predicate they received. Give students a few minutes to write their sentences on the paper. Encourage them to be creative and add extra details if they'd like. Once students have begun their sentences, ask for volunteers to share their sentences. And then the final 10 minutes. Identifying subjects and predicates. Write several examples on the whiteboard or chart paper, making sure they're simple enough for students to identify the subject and predicate easily. Read the first examples of sentences aloud and ask the class to identify the subject, circle or underline the subject in the sentence. Next, ask the class to identify the predicate, circle or underline the predicate in next color. Repeat this process with the remaining example sentences, giving the students opportunity to practice identifying subjects and predicates. This detailed plan of execution for the second 30 minutes of Lesson 1 focuses on reviewing the concept of complete sentences and engaging students in understanding and working with subjects and predicates. By actively involving students in creating and analyzing sentences, they reinforce their understanding of the essential components of complete sentences. We're almost done with our first lesson. All right. So what am I going to do? You guys already know what I'm going to do. Because I am lazy, I am going to copy and paste the previous prompt and I'm going to put in the last 30 minutes of lesson one, which focuses on speaking and listening. Sensational. I'll copy it, pull it down. Let's see. Blah, blah. Focuses on grammar and writing. We're going to substitute that with speaking and listening. And we are going to copy that whole phrase and put that in the prompt. And now we'll let it create the last 30 minutes of our lesson. I do rather enjoy how ChatGPT can really just optimize your workflow. It's not gonna like the thing that is interesting to me is the paranoia that people have. Oh, it's gonna replace jobs. It's gonna do everything. It's like every time there's any new technology, this is said about everything. Oh, a cell phone. It's gonna replace people. It's gonna replace jobs. Oh, the beeper. Oh, the fax machine. It's gonna replace people. It's gonna replace jobs. It's like anything. The DVD. It's gonna replace people. It's gonna replace. Oh, streaming, the internet. Oh, it's like, yo, no, it's not how it works. Understand the technology, visualize it, and then see how you can leverage it to become better. Period. The cell phone makes you better because you're now mobile, right? You can communicate as needed. You can do business anywhere. I'm sure that this was a super shift and change from the landline. From someone having to send you a page, you running off, like running to a payphone, hoping you got 2 quarters or a quarter in your pocket. No, change is inevitable. I digress. Let's get back to the last 30 minutes. Speaking and listening. All right, so it gives us the same layout, objective, materials, and detailed plan of execution. First, the objective, foster a positive classroom environment by having students introduce themselves and share their favorite books. While practicing speaking and listening skills, materials, a talking stick or another object to pass around, a poster board or large paper, markers, and a timer. It's optional. Detailed plan of execution. First 5 minutes. Introduce the activity, explaining to students that they will be introducing themselves to the class and sharing their favorite book or books that they've recently enjoyed. Emphasize the importance of practicing good speaking and listening skills, such as speaking clearly, making eye contact, and paying attention to others while they're speaking, encouraging students to be respectful and supportive of their classmates during the activity. The next 5 minutes, set goals and guidelines. Set expectations for this activity, such as each student should speak for about 1 minute. Students should briefly introduce themselves, their name, and something interesting about themselves. Then share the title and author of their favorite book along with a brief explanation of why they like it. If desired, you can use a timer to help time box. Otherwise, explain that you will be creating a poster with the titles of the books shared, which will be displayed in the classroom for inspiration and reference throughout the school year. Next 2 minutes, model the activity. Model the activity by introducing yourself to the class, sharing your favorite book, along with a brief explanation of why you like it. And then the next 15 to 18 minutes, classroom introductions and sharing favorite books. Begin the activity by having students take turns introducing themselves, sharing the books, passing the talking stick around, encouraging the appropriate listening behavior, and understanding that you shouldn't interrupt others while they're speaking. And then you have your last period for 3 to 5 minutes to wrap up after all the students have had a chance to share and display the poster to the class. Discuss the books that were shared, the importance of respecting and celebrating diversity, interests, and opinions, and encouraging students to use the poster as a resource for finding new books to read throughout the school year. That's it. That's all, folks. Now, the only things that I see that are changing is like this is if you're teaching a collective group, if you're homeschooling one person, one kid, one little creation that you've made, then you can change or streamline, right? Because the time frame is assuming you're having a collective group of kids. You can streamline. Maybe it doesn't take the entire time, or maybe you add additional tasking. You can ask ChatGPT to help you flesh out additional tasking that's in line with this. Or you can try to accelerate your kid's learning so that he can jump specific grades, right? It's all on understanding how you want or how your child is adapting to the material that you provide and adjusting accordingly. It's like I always say with everything in life, it's agile. You just iterate, see what works. If it doesn't, you change, you adjust, you try again. And next thing you know, you got yourself a rhythm. Your kids are now, he's a rocket scientist, and voila. You don't, and it's supported by ChatGPT. They really should sponsor me. No, I'm joking. I mean, if anyone wants to sponsor me, I'm here. Hit me up. We can talk about it. I'm trying to make high quality content to contribute to the benefit of society. Also, we can't forget the magic word of the year, tax write-offs, because Lord knows what Uncle Sam just did to me was an abomination. And now my phone's ringing because I did not cut it off. Yahtzee. Otherwise, thank you for listening to me ramble and making sure that we got this taken care of today. Have a wonderful afternoon, evening, morning. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's see what happens next.